We all set? We're considering a revaluation contract with Vision Government Solutions.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could just give a little bit of background. The town has been budgeting over the course of a couple years to do a town-wide revaluation. And this would mean that the town would hire a company that would visit all the properties in Harpswell, not something that our assessing office is really able to do on its own. The town went through a request for proposal process. We received 2 responses. Chairman of the board, Johnson, was part of the review team, which included our assessor's agent, Debbie Turner, myself, and Chairman Johnson. In the end, we recommended Vision, which is the company that you'll be talking with today, Vision Government Solutions. Patrick Donovan is here to talk about the services of his company. We agree that we recommend that this is the company that could best meet the needs of the town during the course of this 2-year contract. We did work on a couple of provisions that might be a little different, and we'll talk about that as we get into it, how our assessing department will support some of the services that Vision will be providing. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Patrick Donovan, who's here remotely today, to talk a little bit about
Can you hear me okay?
what the company does for services, how it conducts a reval, the timeline, et cetera, some of the key points.
Can you folks hear me okay?
A little louder.
A little low.
Yeah.
A little low.
It's all the way up.
Is it muted up here?
No.
No, but-
we could hear him, but it's just low. But it's all the way up to,
might have to turn
I
it.
already have it all the way up.
Just going to try one thing on my side and see if it gets any louder for you folks. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
better.
Okay. How's that, folks?
Better.
Or are you getting? Am I hearing myself now?
Pat, are you?
Can you hear me now, folks?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. So I'll start by saying thank you very much for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's been a long process through the summer months, trying to get to a point where we have a scope of work that we all can agree to do, and we're really excited to do another project for the town. Just for those who don't really know Vision Government Solutions too well, I'll tell you a little history. We are a CAMA software provider and revaluation service provider, which is kind of nice. We perform the same services that we sell on our software. So hand in hand, one helps the other. It helps to create a better product for the outcome of our assessing world, and that's our ultimate goal, is to be able to provide good quality software and also revaluation services to our clients. We've been around for over 40 years. At one point, you might have known of us as MMC at one point. We evolved into Vision when we created our new software. When I say new software, this was in the 1990s. But we took our name of our software at that point to Vision. Same company, same crew. Some of the individuals I might mention today that have been there since the 80s, including myself as one of them. So one of the nice parts about Vision is the longevity of a lot of our staff. And it has created a great uniform product, when we are doing revaluation services throughout the years. We have a staff in New England of about 65 appraisal individuals. And with those 65 plus, probably the majority of them have over 20 years of experience, which is great. And we do approximately 50 to 60 valuation projects on an annual basis. We have about 450 software clients, and so we consistently do somewhere between 50 and 60 projects on an annual basis. A couple of things I want to talk to in particular. I just talked about the staffing. I like to spotlight the staff because they never spotlight themselves, but they're really good. We're proposing a team effort of two individuals, Steve Whalen and Sandra Smucky, who have both been with us. Well, Sandra's been with us for about 25 years, and Steve's been with us for over 35 years at this point, or in the industry, I should say, for over 35 years. Been with us for over 25. They're a great team. They've worked together for over 20 years together. And what's nice is that they both have leadership qualities, but they also went in different directions on valuation. So Sandra's more of a residential lead appraiser, and Stephen is more of a commercial. So you get a team management concept, and when we get to the valuation portion of it, they split down the different avenues of what they are, a subject matter expert in, both on the residential and the commercial side of things. But the big thing is a big project. A reevaluation project is not a small project, and it takes some time to do. We have a project that I like to talk about different phases, and there's 5 primary phases, and I'll kind of go through each one of them a little bit. And it's a project that will start as soon as we execute a contract, and we'll finish in July of 2026. And as I talk through some of these phases, we'll talk about some of the timelines as well. And please stop me at any point if you've got questions as we go. But we'll start really at the very beginning, sitting down with Deb and establishing, data collection guidelines, what we're going to pick up out in the field. Before we have our, what I call boots on the ground endeavor, where we start to go to each individual property. The biggest thing about mass appraisal is you want to be consistent. And the consistency part of it starts at the very beginning in how you establish what you're going to pick up that's going to be pertaining to value or even descriptive matters. And we want to carry that forward when we start to do value as well. But we'll start with that initial concept of what's going to get picked up. We'll start our public relations right off the bat as well. We're going to get our website. We're going to get our website set up. So if taxpayers have questions right from the very beginning, they'll have a platform that they can reach out to. And it's a platform that you folks, if you have someone reaching out to you with questions, you can direct them to our website. And what we'll do is we'll update this website throughout the different phases of the project, what we're doing currently. And for the first major portion of it, it will be the data collection portion of this project, which is our first key portion. That will be, like I said, boots on the ground to every property. We'll measure the improvements of the property. We'll be attempting to get into those properties on that initial inspection as well. And then we'll have a teaming effort also when we concerning some of this on the inspections. So we as a company will go out, do these initial inspections. We'll follow up with what we call a data mailer questionnaire to every property. The commercial properties will be a little bit different. It's more income driven, so they'll receive an income and expense form. And the residential properties that are improved will receive this different type of a questionnaire, which we call a data mailer, which will have specific information on their property. Characteristics of the property will be listed. It will give the taxpayers the opportunity to do 2 different things. One, to verify what we have on file is accurate, and if not, to provide us information. And number 2, we'll also provide them the opportunity, if they wanted to make an interior inspection, they could follow up with that as well. And then those will get funneled over to Deb for those follow-ups, if there are any of those. At that point, once we get the data collected, we'll start what I always call the fun part of it, and that's doing our sales analysis. And the big part of this is we don't come into a community with any preconceived valuation notions. We have no idea what the value is going to be. We're looking at a valuation that's April of 2026 we're trying to establish. So we put blinders on, we start from scratch. We don't want to look at what was done in the past even as to determining how we're going to value now, because what was done in your last reval and what the market is dictating to us now could be two totally different things. So we try to establish this new sales analysis. We will I always call it, I break this into two, and this will be our preliminary analysis on the front end. We'll establish new neighborhood guidelines. You know, obviously you got a lot of waterfront factors and different factors that are going to have to be applied depending on how the market is dictating, you know, concerning rock and ledge where you are, views, location to water, so on and so forth. So we'll have all that facts and findings. Probably sometime in the fall of next year, we'll do that preliminary analysis. We'll talk to Deb, go through the facts and findings, establish what we think are the directions to go. But we also look at this as a collaborative effort. You know, we want input from the town as well. You know your town better than us coming into this. So if there are aspects of development and so forth that's happening, or restrictions on properties that are happening, we need to know those types of things. So we look at this as a collaborative effort to establish value. And once we establish that preliminary analysis, we will then move forward with what we call our valuation field review. I'm not sure what just happened here. I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay still, folks?
Yes.
Okay, it just the video on my end just went, so I just want to make sure you can hear me. So once we establish that, we will go into our field review portion, which what that is us taking that new model that we're establishing throughout the town and establishing what at a parcel level each individual parcel should be attributable to its value. And this is going to be us making sure the methodology is accurate, making sure the property characteristics are also applied properly as well. So we're going to be doing two things when we do this field review. Once we get that done, we'll have what we feel is our preliminary values. We will then be getting closer to that April date where we can have all the sales up to April 1, 2026 as part of this final analysis. And we'll do this secondary analysis, make sure that what we did do months earlier is still accurate, make adjustments if we have to, and then present to the town the final facts and findings of where we are with our sales analysis. This will also include income. We will do those, like I said earlier, we'll provide to the taxpayers of commercial properties an income and expense questionnaire, as a lot of the value is driven from income, as there's not a lot of sales that happen on commercial properties. So we will definitely be looking at all three methods of value when it comes to the commercial and industrial property, not only the sales, the income, and also the cost approach as well. Once that's done, we'll establish those preliminary values at a parcel level throughout the community. We'll provide those to Deb. There's probably going to be discussion at that point with you folks as well. Once we establish that, we'll then send out a notification. We always call that our informal valuation notice, followed by informal hearings. Those hearings then will give the taxpayers the opportunity to meet with us on a one-on-one basis. We found since COVID that some individuals like to meet in person and some still don't like to meet in person, so we'll do those remotely as well. We'll offer both to taxpayers. And then we'll finalize values by the end of July date that we had proposed originally, and turn everything over to the town at that point. I'm sure you have a bunch of questions in the middle of all that, so feel free to hit me with anything that you have.
Yeah, Debbie and I talked about this earlier. The personal property is going to be handled by assessing office now, right?
Yes, yeah, unless they can give us the name of a company and
That's right.
find out what the company.
Oh, Debbie, can you go to the podium, please?
I can hear you fine.
For the personal property, we need the name of a contract of someone that could do it and what the price would be. And we'll compare the price and see if it's worth us doing it or they do it. Not they as in Vision, but another company that they suggest, yeah,
Yep.
that is good at doing personal property.
Okay. I won't have you repeat yourself.
It's already been done.
Good feedback. Echoing.
There was a piece I wanted to raise. When Vision first proposed its contract figure, it was well above the 400,000 that the town had.
Yeah.
So we talked to Vision about how to negotiate that number down. And one of the ideas we came up with would be for Debbie Turner in the assessing office to do the callbacks. And that means if Vision goes to the property, nobody's home, they can do certain things. They can measure the outside, but obviously they can't get inside. They would leave a notice saying to contact Debbie's office if they want an internal.
We don't leave notices on the door.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead. They would be informed.
Yeah. I believe Vision would keep a list of those that they did not get inside and
Correct.
give that to me, and then
Correct.
I'll contact them, or we'll send out a letter to contact them to see what's the best time to do it. Yeah. I wouldn't leave information on the door because we're so seasonal in our town that I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. So I'd rather have them keep a list of those of the properties. Every week they can give me a list, every other week, whatever, when it accumulates to a certain amount of numbers that they did not get in, that we can keep tabs of that information. We'll have more accurate data on who we got inside, who we didn't get inside, because the majority of this reval, the better the reval is, more data that we have accurate is the better end result of this reval. So if we're not able to get into everybody, it might have issues with some of the numbers. So the more that we can get inside homes, if they can't do it, and if I can't do it, we then have that questionnaire to get as much of accurate data that we can on everybody's property to be fair and equitable with everybody in town.
Yep.
Speaking of that, on page 16, this is why it's kind of confusing. Exterior inspection, and down on F, it says, all properties shall be exterior inspected, except for the ones you can't get into.
Safety-wise.
Right. It's kind of funny the way it's worded.
Well,
It could be due to safety that we can't even get to the door.
Right. Inaccessible.
Inaccessible.
Owner refuses to let you in.
A person refuses to let us in. That would just indicate refusal at door, basically.
So,
We probably, in our last reval, we maybe had a total of maybe 20 out of 5,000 parcels that might have that effect.
so I understand all that,
Yeah.
except that it says, all properties shall be exterior and inspected, except for the ones you can't get into.
Or even get on the property.
Or
even
get onto the
property.
property, yeah. So we're going to try to
No,
do
no, no,
every
I want you to
single
read
one
that
of them.
sentence and
Yeah.
tell me it's right.
which one?
F.
Is it under B? Where
Under-
are you,
under-
David?
Yeah.
Exterior, on page 16.
Exterior.
Exterior inspections, F.
All property shall be exterior inspected except for the following conditions.
So you won't inspect the exterior if you can't get in to the
Right.
property.
Oh, I see what
Owner
you're
won't
doing.
let you in. Maybe that means they won't let you on the property.
On the property, yeah, because basically if we can't get onto the property, the exterior inspections won't be done. I think this maybe be the interior inspections you're thinking maybe, is that what it should be?
No.
Instead of exterior?
Well, this
Just
is under
wanna strike
exterior.
Exterior and just say all shall be inspected except for.
And not do the
Is that
exterior? Yeah,
exterior what's causing you trouble?
we can delete
Because
that
these are
word.
exceptions.
I know.
So do you want to strike exterior?
To me, the conditions kind of spell it out, but
You won't inspect the exterior if you can't get in.
But,
So you want to,
but I don't see any, I don't read it that way, David. It says inaccessible, refused permission, deemed unsafe.
So if you can't
So
go on
you
the
can't
property,
get-
So all properties shall be exterior inspected, except,
unless you can't access the property. Right.
yeah, on
Okay.
these following
Right.
conditions.
That way it would make sense.
Yeah, so it's just the
Right.
way you read the sentence and where you pause.
Right, right.
Right.
so you're okay as worded? You
Yeah.
okay with that?
Yeah.
Sure. I guess so.
Yep, I would assume that the seasonal cottages will be done next summer. I know they're gonna start in the fall.
I have different scenarios that I want to talk to Vision about
Okay.
when we have that internal meeting about what we want them to be picking up and stuff
Gotcha.
like that.
Yep.
Because I have different ways of thinking of certain ways of doing it. I don't want to say it right now, but
I like secrets.
the public will know.
Great.
Yep. That's all I had. I've already been through this stuff
Yeah.
anyway with you. So.
We had just two changes to the copy that you were provided yesterday. There was a change on page 3. We added some language that said the greater of. And then on page 7, we wanted to correct the date. The parcel numbers are effective as of April 1st, 2024, correct?
Yes, basically, we just wanted to update the
Oh.
Yeah.
information that we
I wondered why you had
collected. Yeah, that's the
23.
only thing we
Yeah.
changed, is
Yeah.
that we created more
Yeah.
parcels since 2023.
And
when
under
we did
page
the
7 is
proposal.
vacant residential, what is that? Are those the cottages or,
Vacant residential?
Where are you?
Vacant
On-
residential is
7.
vacant land.
well, residential vacant?
Yeah, see, we have residential land that's vacant. We have
Vacant
commercial
parcels.
parcels that are vacant, that are labeled as commercial,
Mm-hmm.
and we have parcels that are designated as residential. It's more code zoning wise.
So it means there's no improvements on the property?
There's nothing on the
Just-
property, it's
Just the
vacant.
trees in the ground?
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
Grass, dirt.
yep.
whatever. Oh. I would go back to page 3, the reserve section, all of that in capitals. I read it a couple of times, and maybe you can usually, I didn't quite follow what that's trying to
I think
say.
it's really just trying to limit the damages that could be assessed to Vision. You know, it limits the liability here. This is really kind of legalese here.
Okay,
Did you
so,
want to speak to that, Pat?
I wouldn't, to be perfectly honest. It's more legalese than it's above my pay grade, to be honest.
it
I
just
don't wanna give
says
you
if
false
there's any,
information.
if there's any if there's any liability, then this puts out
A
the
limitation.
parameters for the limitation. Okay,
correct.
all right.
Yeah.
It's very hard to follow for me.
Yeah, it's gobbledygook.
Let me see. I think this is a question for Pat. On the informal meetings, is that what you were speaking to when you said people could come in on a one-to-one basis and speak with you or your assessors? Okay.
Correct. Yep. And like I said, we'll offer that, whether they want to do it in person or remotely. We found that it's a mix at this point. And also you have individuals that might be out of town. So we'll give them that opportunity as well if they wanted to do something, on a seasonal residence that's not in town while we're providing those in June of 2026.
So Deb, in the case where you're not allowed on the property to do the assessing, what do you do? Do you just assess them at the highest whatever? Or?
That would be Pat's question.
Yeah, you still try to do your due diligence to appraise the property to the best of your knowledge of what you're gathered for data, both on physical data and on market data, whether you do or do not get on the property. To Deb's point earlier, the more data, the more accurate that assessment will be. So I will follow suit with her comment that, getting onto the property, getting into the property is in everybody's best interest to get a good quality product. I always look at the data side of the assessing world. The data is your foundation of your house, and if you don't have a good foundation, your house falls apart. And if you don't have a good foundation on your values fall apart. So, I just want to, reiterate what Deb said earlier, that, it's a process, but we're out there just to make sure things are accurate. That's all we're looking at.
So if someone
we'll let people know when we're coming out.
So if someone does not let you in their house, you assume they have hardwood floors and,
We can ask them questions at the door
Yeah.
What you got
to
in there,
verify
so-
the information that we've got, because they are going to be reviewing our property cards that we've got already. So they maybe were in at one time since then. And when they get their results, I think they'll review their information, and they might at that time want us to go and review it.
Right.
So
Yep.
If they refuse it,
they
you're not-
don't get abatement
they
either.
can't file for an abatement.
They can't file for an abatement.
No. You say no, then taking your chances.
But everybody's getting a data mailer, so
Yes.
there'll be updated sheets.
They're going to be.
Which will be helpful if they
Right.
don't get in.
Right. And with the end result, we are going to do a mailing, which not all mail's accurate because it's based on where they are during tax time. So we're also going to put it on the website so that people can look at it there and call in or call me, and I'll direct it to them to make appointments or do Zoom meeting, basically. So we're trying to cover everybody's bases so that they are able to communicate with Vision or myself.
So these appointments will be made primarily through the town or directly with
Vision.
Okay.
Vision.
Directly with
So,
us.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they
Vision.
could do through a link
Yeah.
from the website. if
Yes,
they wanted to.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have the same link on our website too, so to go to them, so. Yep,
We are providing some office space
Yep.
for Vision in the building.
I
Yeah.
wondered
Yeah.
where.
Yeah.
I was gonna-
We don't have to talk about it.
We're working on
It's a very-
that.
There's a closet
Full
we can
office.
put it.
yeah.
No, we have some space.
We have some space.
There was a question we wanted to raise with the board about the town is taking responsibility for transporting Vision to the outer islands. And we have language that says if the town is unable to do that, then Vision will perform that revaluation of the island properties remotely. And so, we just want to make sure you're comfortable with that, or, if you want it, we're trying to give the town a little bit of wiggle room in case we can't get Vision to some of these islands. You never know. Weather, scheduling, I'm not sure, but
Worst scenario, I think that is gonna be the worst scenario, but I'm hoping that they're able to get to the islands. If they can't get inside, at least they are able to measure the information while they're on the islands. But accuracy to be able to go back out again, or,
yeah, I don't know how many times the whole boating thing
how
is
many
gonna
boat,
be
I mean, we have
so-
100 islands, and so
With,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
some of them have
47.
houses on them, and some of them do not. 47 are the ones with the
Yeah.
buildings, and the ones that are submerged islands or regular islands, they need to go around and make sure what the value of those islands would be. Those would be the quick ones, because they're vacant lots. But the
But
ones
Vision
that-
has asked for this language that if the town is unable to get them to an island, then that they will have the ability to do that remotely.
And what does remotely mean?
I think that's a good question for Pat.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, what your hands are tied because you're not actually at the property, but you're going to utilize other services. You're going to utilize aerial imagery. You're going to utilize GIS data. You'll utilize existing data that we have on file. So you'll still be able to get a value. It happens to us. Yeah. The best way to try to analyze this is. It's a situation like you have a gated property that somebody doesn't let you on the property. We always have a handful of those at every revaluation project. It just so happens that it's an island, which is different than a gated property. But you still go through the same due diligence to make sure that you can establish a good value on it.
And that's covered under the the cost, that's.
The cost right now
Transportation.
says that the town's responsible for getting them to the islands. However, if we're unable to get them to the islands, then they can do it remotely. That's the current language, if you're comfortable.
And we would prefer to do, we're not trying not to be going to the islands. We prefer to go to the islands and have the better data.
Oh,
So
nice summary.
it's just, when we built our
Only in the
proposal,
summer.
we didn't build it with cost for, for transportation.
A question to you, Patrick. If you would be doing the islands at the time when a person, most of them, I think, if they're occupied, it's in the summer, with the technology we have available, could the property owner, could you Zoom with the property owner and get data that way?
You could, but I would prefer to, like your first part of that was, we're going to try to go to those when folks are around. I used to be an assessor myself, and I had 3 islands. I didn't have as many islands as you folks have, but I had 3 islands where, I would coordinate with my harbor master. He would drop me off for the day. I'd go there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and he would come pick me up at 3 o'clock, and I'd bring my own lunch, and that's the way we would try to operate, and that's what we do with other island communities that we have. That way you can at least get the exterior measurements accurate. You can get a good depiction of what's on the property. Lots of these would be about water access views, slopes, rock and ledge. So you want to be able to get a good description of that property, and the best way to do it is getting onto it.
Could, going off of what Jane said, with the Zoom meeting, when they do the final hearing type thing, if they were at the cottage, could they just walk around with their device to kind
You
of give
could
you
do-
more accuracy if you weren't able to get inside, or if I wasn't getting?
You could do that. I will be honest. Most taxpayers don't want to Zoom through their property, though, as they're afraid it might be recorded. So
I mean, it's a
don't get a
cottage.
lot of people wanting to do that.
I would agree with that.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm good.
No, I think the only thing we would mention is that if Debbie becomes overly burdened with going to callbacks,
Yes.
we would look at potentially budgeting. We've talked to Pat about this. So she will start out trying to do the callbacks, and we're going to see how that works. But we may want to consider budgeting and
2026?
yeah, well, even in 2025, I think we need to look at whether or not we
Oh, yeah, 'cause
we want you to continue doing that, or if we want
need some
to if we
extra help.
want to amend the contract
Yeah.
and have Vision do those callbacks
Oh,
in person.
So we have to have something in this language then that would allow us with,
Well, we can always amend the contract. So right now,
but where are we going to get the money if we?
oh well,
We have
it's
to
gonna
raise
be
and
at the
appropriate,
March-
you have to go to
it
town
would have to
meeting
be the
first.
March town meeting
Yeah.
if we put it in
In
the
25.
yes.
Yeah, put it in the
Okay.
budget for 2025, and then we might amend the contract after the town meeting. We're going to be talking to Debbie about how is this working? Can she handle
Yeah.
the callbacks?
Because I still have the pickup to do for April 1st to April 1st of 2025's commitment, because 2025's commitment is not any of their information, of what they're collecting. I'm using the old tables for our 2025 commitment time. So I still have that pickup to
So
do.
this would be, how to estimate how much extra we would need is what I'm puzzling.
Oh, I
over.
think we kind
In
of have a
20
figure.
For the 25.
We have a figure because
Okay.
originally, this is what Vision was going to do.
I see.
Some of
Okay.
these callbacks in person. That's where it gets really expensive.
Yes.
The personnel costs.
Yes.
So we negotiated that piece out, and Debbie's going to just cover it, and we're going to try to see how many people actually call for someone to go in the home, or are they comfortable with the fact they missed the revaluation company? They fill out the mailer. I mean, it's not required, but it's encouraged that they have an internal inspection.
So you're making an estimate of how many this might be. before Debbie has the experience.
Well, I think she could start as soon as November.
Right, as soon as they start
Potentially.
doing their
Yeah,
field work,
yeah.
as soon as they're putting their
Yeah,
feet on the
yeah,
ground,
yeah.
we already start collect
Yeah,
data.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll know exactly who they've gone to
So
see.
there'll
and
be-
who
So
they
you know
didn't
how
get
many you
inside.
could.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
That's the part I missed.
And Pat, I don't know, based on your experience, you might have a percentage. I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
throw anything
it's-
out there or
it's
not.
It
definitely-
wasn't high.
Yeah, it's definitely different than it used to be. When I first got into this industry in 1987, you got into 95% of the homes. And, post-COVID, you're probably more like a quarter of the community. So, unfortunately, it's not the same as it used to be. It does, it does limit you on some of the data that you can collect. And that's why we've gone with the data mailers. Because we find that taxpayers, especially on communities that have seasonal residences and they're here a limited amount of time, the data mailer is a great tool to still have an engagement with the taxpayers and get their input on their property. There's a note section they'll have on it where they can, make comments of, I've got a sump pump and a wet basement issue or whatever it might be. So that way, before we even have a preliminary value, we're addressing as much as we can.
Interesting.
I think those are the high points. What do you think?
those were the high points. Trying to think what else we discussed,
Well,
we changed.
I move that we contract with Vision Government Solutions per this agreement.
Second.
any more discussion on this? Oh,
I had one question. Did personal property come up?
it did.
Yeah.
We did, at the beginning, we're,
That-
Yeah, it was
When I
hard
was-
to hear with the
Okay.
echoing, I think.
When you
I
were
asked
messing
about-
around.
Thank you.
And we designate who to sign it.
It doesn't, I think you should designate the chair. I mean, it's a pretty substantial contract. I think it would be.
Let's take a go.
Speaking of liabilities.
You don't want to be responsible, okay.
Yeah, I second the motion.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Pat. We look forward to
Thank
working
you, folks.
together.
yes.
Thank you. We really look forward to it. You all have a wonderful evening.
Thanks a
too.
lot.
Thank
All
you.
right, we have to.
All right.
Take care.
And we have consider a letter of support for the Regional Warming Center in Brunswick.
Yes, so recently, Andrew Lardy, who's been working with the Tedford Shelter, or Tedford Housing, he's
Yeah, we
the
met him.
executive director. He reached out and he asked if the town of Harpswell would send a letter of support to Maine Housing on behalf of the town of Brunswick's grant application. Brunswick and Tedford Housing have been working, and other communities, and we've been invited to be part of the conversations. They've been looking at a regional warming center with other services. And so they have a location in Brunswick. It's 110 Way. This grant application is going to see if Maine Housing will provide the money that Brunswick needs to purchase the property. So they don't plan to purchase it this winter. They plan to rent it, I think, or they have some agreement for this winter, but they'd like to be able to purchase it the following year.
No cost to us, right?
Well, no cost to us at this time, and I'm not aware that this is going to be a cost, but, people who don't have housing, who go to shelters, they're often not able to stay in the shelter during the day. They need a place to go to
Sure,
stay
no.
warm, to get connected to services.
I agree with all that,
Okay.
just looking down the road. So if there is a cost to us, that'll be a different step. And
That would
we-
be,
we
this
would-
is just a
we would-
support of their grant application,
take
which is
that
to
as a cover.
purchase the property, to install sprinklers. I think they're also asking for 2 years of some operational funding. And so we're just saying we support this idea. It's a regional model. It's hard for us to quantify how many people in Harpswell might benefit from it, but I think it's something they truly
It's probably more.
may benefit from. And
Yeah.
to connect people to services they need, I think is really valuable.
So the letter is well written, and I move that we submit it.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. I'm quite certain Topsom's doing a letter, Bath.
Yeah.
I'm not sure all the communities, but anyway, I know they'll appreciate this.
It's not a bad thing.
No.
Right. Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
I wanted to ask the select board about their meeting schedule in October. So next Thursday, excuse me, October 3rd is your public hearing at Harpswell Community School.
Right.
We are trying to limit the agenda
Uh-huh.
so it can really be focused on the public hearing. So there have been some things that I've told staff that it's to the next meeting. So the question is, what is the next meeting? So are you continuing 2 weeks out from October 3rd and staying on that schedule, which would be October 17th and October 31st? Or with us having pushed some items out, did you want to
That
switch
was-
to the 10th and the 24th?
That was going to be my question. What, depends on what's on the agenda, I guess.
Yeah. You tell us.
I like
Yeah.
switching to the 10th and the 24th because then it would line up and you would not be scheduled for a meeting on Thanksgiving.
Oh, I like that.
That'd be very good.
I have nothing to do on Thanksgiving, so.
You don't mind
We have to
meeting?
find something for you.
Several of us do.
Fine.
That
So
sounds fine.
if the board's okay with that, then some items that would be delayed from the 3rd can be on the 10th. Although Norm's public hearing may I follow up by email with the
Yep.
select board?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
We're open to that.
All right. In that case, we're adjourned.